I think the school is the decline in learning. I think in government institutionalized learning facilities make communists.
That's probably true, especially in college.
It is. I've had personal experience with some of this stuff. I tell a lot of stories, but I had one story where there's an individual I hired for a job with a master's degree, and they couldn't figure out how to solve simple problems on the back end of a website. Literally something you could just Google search. It was rudimentary. I don't want to get too personal, but they said, I need to be told what to do. And I said, that's not how this works. You are hired for the job, so you do it. If I was working on the back end of a website, I'd be the web dev.
Yeah.
But when you're hired for that job, you figure it out. They couldn't because they spent 24 years of their lives in an environment where they're told what to do every time, as opposed to solving the problem on their own. So I say, I have no problem with some kind of education system, but our current public government institutionalization just makes communists who are dependent on government and expect government to feed them. Yep. How does it work? Schools in our country, lunchtime, you go to the cafeteria, the government food is available. It's low quality, it's crap, but the government has it for you. Got a problem? Talk to the government. Then you get out, these young people, we all laughed. We were like, man, when these kids get out of college, they're in for a rude awakening. And what happened? They got out of college and they were in for a rude awakening, except we didn't realize they were violent and threatened these American society, saying, no, we don't care the way you think it should be. We're going to beat you until you give us what we want. So we started seeing college students scream at the professor, get their professors fired. Then they get out of college. Now they're in the workforce. They nuked Bud Light and Target. They are just destroying everything because these people, they're voting for Zoran Mamdani and Gavin Newsom because they're just saying the government should always tell us what to do because we raised them to think so.
Well, and this gets into this point about what they tell us, what stories they tell us. We all remember the narrative about the Great Depression we were given in school. Everything was horrible because the government wasn't doing enough. And then FDR stepped in and saved the day. It's like, well, actually, the United States had the slowest economic recovery of any developed nation on the entire planet. FDR confiscated everybody's gold. He put people in internment camps. He literally set prices based on what he thought were lucky numbers that came to him in dreams. He had more than 2 terms. Like, he was all of the things that they say that Trump is going to be. He was all of the things that they warn us about Trump being, and we were told he was a hero. We're told he's like the best president we ever had. Why? Because he radically expanded the size and scope of government. Yeah.
Did you like high school?
No, I didn't like school. Listen, I had some awesome teachers, but I just was not into school.
Yeah, I think schools are designed.
Did you like high school?
I didn't go.
Did you drop out of high school?
I think I went for maybe I think it was 3 months, and then I stopped going and got homeschooled.
You're super smart though. You have a high IQ.
I suppose. I think that probably comes from the fact that I was homeschooled before starting grade school, and I think the problem for me was, I call it a problem, but I was homeschooled before starting kindergarten. So I entered grade school 3 or 4 grades ahead of everybody. And it is annoying when your teachers are lying to you and you know they're lying to you and they lie to everybody. And that's what our schools do. Yeah. So it's just all, I think, I'm not going to tell every single story about school I could, but I can tell one, which was a relatively formative moment for me where I knew negatives before I even went to grade school, how to count negatives or whatever. And I was in, I think it was 8th grade, and I'm doodling, and the teacher had a stupid math problem. It was like 30 minus 50. And she's going to catch me, and she says, who can answer this question? And she yells at me. She goes, Mr. Poole. And then I look up, and I'm -20. And I go back to doodling little stick figures, and she goes, and what's the formula? And I was like, what formula? She's like, what's the formula for 30 minus 50? And I said, 5, 4, 3, 2. What are you talking about? There's some stupid circuitous method for flipping the minus sign and spinning it around. And I said, I was like, I don't understand. I gave you the right answer. And she was like, yes, but we're here to learn formula. And I said, but I don't need that if I can just do it in my head, which is like a fairly common thing that you hear all the time, a trope of the student being like, I know how to do the math. And then I said something to her like, I'm sorry if I'm smarter than you and don't have to do it the hard way. And so I got detention. And then I was like, school's fake. Because she wasn't trying to teach me. She wasn't trying to improve my math skills. She was just trying to waste my time. And so I'm over this. And then what happened was when I go to high school, I'm in a public high school, and I'm sitting in a literature class where the student is going, Amazon, and the teacher goes, Amazon confirms, and I'm going like, why am I sitting here? What a waste of my and everyone else's time, because the classroom can only go as fast as the slowest student.
Yep.
So I got straight Fs, except for music class, and my parents freaked out and pulled me and my brother out, and then we got homeschooled instead. And that was when I was 14. And so instead of going to high school, I skateboarded, played music, and programmed video games and made websites.
But you did a really good job learning.
I think anyone could.
So I have 3 kids, and I homeschooled one of them.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't do it.
That's
personally.
not easy.
I hired
but-
somebody to do it.
Yeah.
That's our plan
Still.
for
But he
good that-
he needed to be homeschooled. He didn't want to be. He didn't fit into the whole.
I don't think any kid.
Public school's a mess. It's a mess.
Their intent. Listen, the most formative, most important years of a human being's life are the ages 0 through 5, and our society says do nothing. Now, to be fair, there are a lot of kids programs, but what we're giving to our kids these days and in the past 20 years is psychobabble, garbled nonsense on YouTube that ranges from insane, deranged, sexualized Sonic the Hedgehog. Not a joke.
Yeah.
It's literally
There's
what they're
so
doing.
much creepy stuff.
Blood, guts, murder, eating feces, and they're giving it to babies. And the best case scenario is a video from Disney Junior, where it's like 4 hours. This is not a joke. I think it's like 4 hours straight of Mickey Mouse singing "Hot Dog." That will make your kid a retard, and I'm not exaggerating. And so for me, I was lucky in that I'm 2, and my mom's like, let's do math. Other kids are sitting from a screen where they're going, hot dog, hot dog, hot dog. Ow! It's not a joke. I am not making a joke.
No, dude, I know what you're talking about.
Hot dog.
I know exactly what you're talking
Well, I mean,
about.
it's just wild to me that there is even a debate about whether phones should be in classrooms.
Wait,
That's exactly
I'm
right.
sorry.
there was no
Mary,
question.
Mary, I'm sorry. I was wrong. It's not 4 hours. It's
14.
10 hours. Look at, I'm not joking. Disney Junior, 25 million subscribers, hot dog dance, 10-hour version. Parents are putting this in front of their babies and pressing play, and it is literally 10 hours of Mickey Mouse singing the same thing. Your kids are going to be retards, and they're going to have deranged worldviews about people. They're going to get surgical Mickey Mouse ears attached to their heads. This is not a joke.
And if you
So you
tell
do agree
parents,
with me
like, this is
that
a
we
bad
need to get
idea,
these
they'll
out
be
of
like,
school.
All of this is listen. My daughter is now 8 months old, and I am my wife.
Congratulations, by the way.
I appreciate it. And my mother-in-law were playing children's music, which is the fine children's music of like the Wheels on the Bus. And I said no to this. Not that I have the unilateral authority, but I strongly expressed my disdain and changed the music. And I said, the issue is never before in the history of humanity did we have children's content until the last 60 or 70 years. Children used to learn by observing their parents. That was it. We didn't lie to them and create fake versions of reality, because babies need to see exactly what adult life is so they can absorb that and emulate it. So when you play music like Wheels on the Bus, which a lot of people are going to be like, Tim, you're a party pooper and let kids be kids. I don't care. You do whatever you want. My point is, my daughter, there's a really great song by the band Me Without You. The Fox, the Crow, and the Cookie is the song. And it's the parable of the Fox, the Crow, and the Cookie, literally in an indie rock song. And I'm like, that's my limit on children's music. An actual indie rock band with a song from the 2000s, but it's the real parable of the fox. You guys know the story of the Fox, the Crow, and the Cookie, right?
No.
The fox tries to steal the cookie, but he can't, and the crow snatches it. So the fox goes to the crow and says, "Mr. Crow, would you please share?" And the crow won't do it. So then he says, "Well, if you're not going to share it, please, would you sing for me? Because your voice is so beautiful, it would ease my pains and fears." And the crow, as arrogant as he is, says, "Well, of course I'll sing." And then the cookie falls down. The fox snatches it and runs off. It's a great parable, and it's a rock song. But I'm like, you know the songs we're going to play? We're going to play like classic rock songs. We're going to play classical music, classic rock songs, real music that adults listen to. Nothing explicit. That's, can
Yeah,
come
of
later.
course.
But I don't want hot dog, hot diggity dog
That's the
garbage.
problem with this Miss Rachel. She's talking to the kids
Yep.
like this. Hi,
She's a
babies.
demon.
Ooh. And then she has these really brightly colored animations on the screen. trying to hyperstimulate the child's mind, and they literally see colors in more saturated light than adults do, and hear sounds a different way at that age. It's mesmerizing, and they're glued to the screen. This woman,
my daughter listens to Devil Went Down to Georgia, and great songs like that.
Dude,
and,
did you see
Freebird?
Did you see the viral tweet about that? About Devil Goes Down to Georgia?
No, which one?
Someone was like, "It's such a uniquely American song because in any other culture it'd be about like hubris in challenging the devil to a fiddling contest, but of course in this song, like he's actually better at it than the devil."
That is pretty great. I mean, the song's amazing. However, I like the other meme better. I don't know if you saw it, where it said, "When I was younger, I was scared because I genuinely thought the Devil's band sounded way better than." Yeah. What was it? It was his Band of Demons.
That's such a great band.
That's right.
That was a fun, really great song. Yeah.
Yeah.
Solid one.
That was a real short period, though, of music. It didn't last a long time.
No, it didn't.
Well, to what you were saying earlier about the debate about like whether smartphones should be allowed in the classroom, it just shouldn't even be a debate. There should be a classroom. I was never allowed to have phones in the classroom. I went to incredibly strict schools, and it was not even like that wasn't even a conversation. You had to wear uniforms. You weren't allowed to express yourself. If you so much as whispered in class, it was like, you're out of here. And you either follow the rules or you're out. And we just learned that there is a hierarchy between us, the students, who are meant to be taught, and the teachers who are authority figures. And it just wasn't questioned.
I do want to stress, I don't know how my daughter will end up turning out because she only watches 2 types of programming: Married to Strangers, which is like 90 Day Fiancé, and that's what women watch, because my wife watches that all the time, and then Fox News. So that's it. If she doesn't actually watch it, because we don't let her watch, but I'll be watching the news and she'll be in the room and that's what's on.
And she'll hear it.
Yeah, and then when I leave, my wife will put on Love is Blind or 90 Day Fiancé or whatever.
So she might like have an accent like a news anchor or an influencer.
Well,
a Republican influencer.
I didn't want to say this to Jesse Waters, but when the 5 is on and Greg Gutfeld talks, she gets excited and looks at the screen, and then it switched to Jesse and she started crying. And then when Greg started talking, she stopped and perked up again.
When Greg Gutfeld is your Miss Rachel.
Oh, funny, dude.
I mean, I definitely think that, I have a very strong opinion about, whether or not school's for everybody, and I don't think it is for everybody. But
agreed.
Not a lot of people can have a situation where they have 2 people at home and they can stay home and raise their kids at home. And public school serves, the greater good. It
Unacceptable.
really does, but it's terribly unacceptable. But it's not. But you have to have you have to have some version of it. And the math that I saw the other day in this symposium about what the iPhone and what phones have done, especially smartphones, to kids since 2012 in terms of their ability to learn, pay attention, stimulation, things like that. It's mind-boggling.
This is an unacceptable condition for our country.
It's insane.
That you have to have both parents working. And Zoran Mamdani says that he's going to give free childcare. Mm-hmm. And this is part of the communist plan.
Can you imagine who's going to be watching them?
The government. That's right. The point is, what he's really saying is give your children to the state. And they're clapping and cheering.
By the way, utopians have said this for all of history. Even go back to Plato's Republic. They always want to undermine the family. They want to take children away from parents as early as possible. This is part of the agenda.
By the way, I think kindergarten and preschool and all school is free childcare.
Yeah. I think especially those are with.
So we should make it as good as we can make it, and this is a start. And we should put shop back in school. I mean, I don't know why we don't put things in schools that the kids really want to learn or need to learn.
Well, I appreciate you mentioning, by the way, though, that you don't think school's for everyone. My dad's very, very brilliant. His brothers are also smart, but like my dad was book smart. He loved school. His brothers did not. They basically all became Chicago police. Very smart guys, but just did not like to sit still, didn't like to sit in a desk. And one of my uncles, he ended up, may he rest in peace, he was a detective. So very, very smart guy. But my dad has this story about when they were kids, and my dad loved school, and his brother hated it. His brother said, I hate school. It's a bunch of women make you sit there and talk to them.
Well, I mean, I agree with the concept that school is not for everyone, but if we're to have schools, the kids need to be treated like little soldiers. Very austere. They need to
it's about manners.
have authority
that
they respect.
I think it's very much about learning how to get along with people.
The problem with schools is that children are learning from children.
Yep.
That is not the way human society has ever functioned, and it can't function.
Well, and also nowadays we break them up into different age groups. So it's like you are with your grade, but children never developed that way historically. You were talking to older kids and younger kids. So you were not in this weird like niche where your development was stultified.
Right, there's a viral video that we bring up quite a bit where it's like kids post-World War II being interviewed. And it's like a 7-year-old kid going like, I'm quite concerned with the economy of Switzerland, following the war. And everyone's like, how do these kids sound like adults? Because the only thing they've ever been exposed to is adults having these conversations. Now what's happened is 10-year-olds don't learn from the teacher. They hate the teacher and ignore the teacher. They learn from 10-year-olds. And so you're basically running, you're taking copies of copies and copying off each other. Instead of the kids learning from adults, they're just doing random garbled nonsense. And this is the leftist way, where they say children are blank slates, and they want the kids to decide their own names for themselves and to figure out what gender they really are, instead of being told that they are a thing with a definitive form and a name.
Yeah, that's right. And you can tell the difference, by the way. I mean, at my church, there's the church I used to go to before I moved in the town that I went to college in. There was this really great like traditional Latin Mass community, and not everyone homeschooled, but some of the parents did. And like you could just tell their children were so precocious compared to the others. They spoke on a much more adult level with a more advanced vocabulary because they were speaking with their parents and they were actually being educated at their level instead of, as Tim mentioned, being held back by the dumbest kids in the class. Let's just be blunt about it. Like the slowest kid who the teacher has to slow down for.
It's absolutely infuriating to me because I was fortunate enough that I had enough, call it arrogance or testosterone, to tell everyone around me to shut up and I would do whatever I want. But the kids around me that I see that had potential, whose lives are ruined because of the public schooling system, it breaks my heart.
Yeah.
And the kids I knew who are dead because of the public school system, from gangs, from violence, and from drug use. It should never have been that way, and it wouldn't have been that way if we had a proper functioning society. But we've industrialized and we've communismized. Not completely, but this is absolutely insane that parents are like, I have no choice. We both have to work. Well, I can't tell you it's possible. I can't tell you what you have to do or what you can do. What I would suggest and what I try to do is strive to homestead. Do your best. Our plan for our daughter is going to be homeschool pods. We're fortunate that basically everybody in our community is having babies. So I think, let me just do some like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think there's like 6 babies in the past several months. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
This means that they're going to grow up with each other. They're going to learn from us, but we are going to. There's a couple ways that I think it could and should be done. One of the ideas that I had was every parent takes a turn, one day of the week being the teacher for the kids, or the easy route for everybody is you hire a teacher. However, considering we are all somewhat like moderate to very traditional in our community, you've got a lot of the moms who intend to be full-time moms. So I'm actually fairly confident that with this big network we have, the moms are going to be it's very possible they will be the teachers in the early years for our kids, which will allow us to be great. Spots.
I mean, look, there's, I think 5.5, maybe 6 million students in California, and I think there's 7,000 high schools. 10,000 elementary and middle schools. So you got a large group of people that are the future, and we need to do everything we can to make the school system work because there's no easy fix. And I think the iPhone thing or the telephones out of the schools is a very good start.
Well,
and also, most teachers, when they enter into the teaching business, it's because they really want to do it. And imagine what it's like.
I don't believe that for a second.
Oh, there's lots of great teachers.
I'm sure there are, but my experience with the industry and with people who have been teachers is that, so the friends of mine who got into teaching were like, I was surprised to find how many people hate this job and never wanted it. And the reason they took it was because they got a degree and couldn't find anything else, so they decided to get into teaching.
Well, that's probably true in a lot. I wouldn't say that's the majority though.
And I would say that
really love it, especially young kids.
In my and this is more anecdotal and personal, but there was probably one teacher that I've had in my life that I thought was actually a good teacher, and the rest were abusive to some capacity. From negligent to abusive is the experience I've had in the Chicago public school system.
It's terrible.
And it's worse than that, because we've got stories out of Chicago where there was one like 6-year-old kid who they locked in a padded room because he was having a temper tantrum, and then they wouldn't let him out and left him there, so he defecated all over himself. That's Chicago public schools. So I can't speak to California, but my experience, a lot of people, is the school systems are all broken. I just say, look, there's going to be a lot of people who can't or don't care or whatever the issue is. But
they're the future of America.
The parents?
The kids.
Of course they are, which means the parents need to do everything in their power to give their kids the best opportunity imaginable. And it is surprising to me how many parents refuse to. I can't believe how many parents are like, I know full well that the state will take my child from me and sterilize them. I'm going to send them into the school anyway. How many people we've interviewed in the show who are like, I know full well that the high school in my area is showing kids pictures of dildos and teaching them about anal and things like this. I'm going to send them there anyway.
Oh, it's terrible.
And I'm like, why? Why are you doing that? I don't understand. Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.